welcome to the Bench Again podcast. Today, we're going to start a series on the past decade for NBA teams. So, of course, with our first team, we're going to start with the Philadelphia 76ers. And we have today Jason, the biggest Allen Iverson fan, apparently. Hey, you want to introduce yourself, Jason?
Hey, what's up? My name is Jason. I was born in Philadelphia, so I bleed green, bleed red. Huge Sixers fan. And yeah, I mean, ever since I was a kid, always followed the Sixers, and Iverson is my favorite player of all time.
Yeah, he lives in New Jersey, by the way. So just putting
Now
that
I
out
do.
there.
And I really do miss Philadelphia. It makes me really appreciate the city of brotherly love even more, actually.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So we'll just get right to it then, because we have like 10 seasons to cover.
Yeah.
So, okay. Start of the decade, the 2010-2011 season. Starting five, Andre Iguodala, Drew Holiday, Elton Brand, Jody Meeks, and Thaddeus Young. And then off the bench, we got Lou Williams, Evan Turner, and Spencer Hawes. So, um, not quite the how do you say this? I wouldn't say this is like a championship team by any means. They were 41 and 41. Um, Head coach was Doug Collins. He came from TNT. And Rod Thorne, he came from the Nets, and they're a pretty defensive team. So just off the starting five, how did you feel about this going into the season?
This was now the transitional period, right? Iverson's gone, and even after our 2001 playoff series when we went to the finals with Iverson. Ever since then, the Sixers are kind of a fringe
So you're
playoff team.
you're going back 9 years.
No. I'm just mentioning that just to preface what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
You're not letting the
Okay.
masterpiece come together, man.
Okay.
I'm like
Okay.
Picasso, dude. You gotta give me time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So ever since '01, that magical season, right? Since then, Iverson was on the team, and of course, Iverson put up his numbers, but the records never really translated to a potential championship team. And I think the 2010-2011 season was the first season where now the organization realized we need to make a transition, right? So we traded away Iverson, and now we hired. I think this was Doug Collins' first season as head coach.
Yeah, I think
Second
so.
second overall pick, drafted Evan Turner, and so I think as a Sixer fan, I think we all knew this was inevitable that we are going to go through this transitional period, and and yeah, so we definitely didn't have high expectations of this team. I think they actually over succeeded, going 500 with this team looking at the roster because there isn't too much talent on the team. I mean, the best player you would say is Andre Iguodala on this team, which at best he's a third scoring option.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Iggy. Oh, well, he was like already 27. He's been in the league.
Yeah.
I think he was drafted in like '05 or something,
Yeah,
something
something
like
like I
that.
think '05 or '06. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the team was like whatever, good defensive team. I think the biggest blunder for this season was that you guys drafted Evan Turner, second overall. I think he was from Ohio.
Ohio State.
Let me give you a list of people you left on the board. You left Derek Favors. I think he was drafted by the Nets. Um, DeMarcus Cousins, Greg Monroe, Gordon Hayward, Paul George, Larry Sanders, Eric Bledsoe, Avery Bradley, and Hassan Whiteside, and Lance Stevenson.
So
So a lot of quality players left on the board. I mean, yeah, some of them were second rounders, and yeah, you didn't know, but like Evan Turner,
so yeah, I mean to go over this draft class, right? This draft class was known to be a weak draft class, right? John Wall was the consensus number one pick. So
hmm
as a second overall pick, we knew that we were going to get John Wall. And he would have been a perfect transitional piece and make Drew Holiday a two guard. And so John Wall we knew we couldn't get. Evan Turner was actually the census number two overall pick because he did have a pretty magical season at Ohio State. He was a jack of all trades. And honestly, I wasn't actually thrilled with the pick, even though I knew they were going to draft Evan Turner because even DeMarcus Cousins, I forgot what college he came out of, but he had the
I
potential
think
for him was
Kentucky.
Kentucky. You're right, Kentucky. It is
Yeah, because
Kentucky.
he
Like
was
AP.
teammates with John Wall. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with DeMarcus, the potential is through the roof, but then there were a lot of question marks about his character coming out of Kentucky. And so, and honestly, looking at this list, it's not very. I mean, Derek Favors, he had a nice quality long career, but nothing special, right? So I wouldn't say that Derek Favors was a better player than Evan Turner necessarily, especially early on in his career. Because I think the Sixers are hoping that Evan Turner, he, by draft experts, everyone said Evan Turner was the most NBA ready, right? He had he had a very wide skill set. He had an NBA body already. The only
Well, I
thing,
mean, he was NBA ready because he was like 22 when he was drafted.
yeah, I mean, but the thing is at the same time too, is that his play style too, he wasn't overly athletic too. So I think what the Sixers were looking for was that he could have a long career in the NBA since he was good at so many different things, but he wasn't good at one particular thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, so his potential is limited, but then his floor was high, I think is what they were thinking. Whereas with Derek Favors, the potential is insanely high, but then the floor could be low too because of character issues, which you see a lot of NBA players fall out because of that issue. I mean, so I think definitely misses were DeMarcus Cousins, obviously. Greg Monroe, I don't really consider a miss. I think he had 2 or 3 good years in Detroit, and that's it, more or less. And then he just is a defensive blocking center, which they come around pretty frequently if you think about it. Gordon Hayward, and he was it if he didn't get that catastrophic injury with the Celtics, then I would say that was a huge miss. But ever since then,
Oh my god.
he had 5 good seasons on the Jazz, right? 5 good seasons. But I don't know
No
how he would have
way.
translated early on. Paul George obviously is a huge miss. I mean, I can't stand the guy, but Paul George is a huge miss. Larry Sanders, no. Eric Bledsoe was solid. Avery Bradley was solid. Sam White, I don't want to deal with him. Lance Stevenson, I mean, what? We're gonna have him
Wow.
blowing in LeBron James' ear too.
So I can kind of sense how the next hour is going to go, where you kind of justify bad decisions by the 76ers, because I would take any of these players over Evan Turner.
I think honestly, I think at that time you can't argue the Evan Turner pick, and I think
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, and I think hindsight too. I see what you're saying. Honestly, I'm just trying to think about the development of these players under our current head coaching system back then, and I don't think they would have flourished either. Which is my main issue. So like I would have definitely taken DeMarcus Cousins, Gordon Hayward, Paul George. Larry Sanders was he was like a 3 and D 4, right? And he only had like 2 good seasons. I wouldn't take Larry Sanders. Eric Bledsoe I would have taken. Avery Bradley I would yeah, Avery Bradley that's like a coin flip for me.
Oh my gosh. No
Tom
way.
White's a hell no.
What?
Dude, he would
Oh
have just imploded the process, the team, man. Lance Stevenson,
Oh.
okay, yeah. But anyways, yeah. I mean, enough of Evan Turner. He's still playing in the NBA, and he's a solid what? He's a solid rotational player for the Blazers. So, I mean, he did last long in the NBA. This is his what, 12th season or 10th
Yeah,
season?
some
Yeah,
yeah, something like that.
yeah,
But so I mean, there's not much to say. I think we're off to like a mediocre start of the decade. They went 500. They met the Heroes in the playoffs, and they somehow won one game. I th- I think this was Miami Heat, the three
oh
Heroes,
yeah, this
the
was their
first
first
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, they got one game off of them, so good for them.
yeah,
But why don't we just move on to the year after,
yeah.
because it's just a mediocre season.
Yeah, and I think they definitely surprised the NBA by winning that many games because I didn't expect that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So 2011, 2012, I believe this was the lockout season.
yeah,
So they were over 500. I don't know by how much. They won 35, lost 31. Doug Collins is still here. Just to name the starting five again: Andre Iguodala, Drew Holiday, Elton Brand, Thaddeus Young, and Evan Turner. So Evan Turner is kind of a starter now.
yeah,
Yeah, he started. He started 20 games out of 65. Jody Meeks still started most of the games, but so
yeah.
pretty
He only
much the
played
same
like
team.
20 minutes though.
Now I think okay. So here's the problem. You guys drafted Vucevic uh, at 16 and Lavoy Allen. So Lavoy Allen, no one knows
Hmm.
who he is, but
Hmm.
um, so and then I think Vucevic was traded, right?
Yeah,
to the Magic.
Hmm.
Oh, that was the Andrew Bynum trade. Okay, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. I hate that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. So I mean, so can you tell us like what you kind of remember, like some of the highlights of this season?
Yeah, I think so. 2011, 2012. So this was. Oh, I'm just looking over a couple things real quick. That was 2006. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this season was a very interesting season because there was a lockout for one, and two was that as a Sixer fan, I didn't really know what to expect from this season because it was a lockout. Last season, I think they overachieved. So I'm thinking, okay, now I don't think they're going to overachieve because I don't think they're going to take any teams by surprise necessarily. And now this is Doug Collins' second year as a head coach, and he's known as a very player-oriented coach, right? Not much of an X and O guy kind of guy. So it made sense that the Sixers wanted to hire him. And so for the second season, I didn't really expect the Sixers to do better than last season, quite honestly. I and looking at the roster too, I mean, Drew Holiday was solid. Andre Iguodala. This was surprisingly his first All Star season, right? Based on your notes. And obviously, yeah, he made it for defense and just being a jack of all trades. And the big thing I remember from this season was we had that magical playoff run, obviously being the Bulls as an eighth
Mm-hmm.
seed, because Derrick Rose tore his ACL and another player got hurt that series. Joakim Noah went down too that series later, midway through. So we beat them and we actually almost beat the Celtics, taking them to game seven. So I think this season really epitomized the the mentality of the city of Philadelphia, a very blue collar, gritty town where we're going to muster out wins any way we can. And I actually went to three of the playoff games this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so the atmosphere was electric because no one expected this again,
Yeah,
especially being the
they went
Bulls.
pretty deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, surprisingly, going to round two with this lineup, it's yeah. And I think Lou Williams had a really nice season this season too.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, this is when he
Oh
was
yeah, he was
blossoming
getting
into
buckets.
like a 6 man all star type of player
Mm-hmm.
like Manu. So
I feel like with the Sixers though, like during this time, the first couple years into the decade, they were always like around 500, um, swimming around 8 seed, 7 seed. So why don't we just go to the next tier? It's still pretty like mundane.
yeah, yeah. There's not much juiciness yet, right? Not much drama.
Yeah, there's a lot more juicy stuff to
Oh
come.
yes, there is.
Okay, so we okay, here we go. So 2012, 2013, year 3 into the decade. Um Pretty much the same starting five kind of. Elton Brand isn't oh, you guys amnestied Elton Brand. Um Drew Holiday, Evan Turner, Thaddeus Young, Richardson, Jason Richardson. Was he traded from the Magic?
I don't honestly remember where he came from, or was it the
Yeah.
Suns? I don't remember.
No, I think he went to from the Suns to the Magic, and he was traded to Sixers.
Oh, in that
Oh
massive.
no, yeah, okay. So during the preseason, you guys traded away Andre Iguodala, Harkless, Vucevic, and a 2018 first rounder, which became Landry Shamet for 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 Andrew Bynum and half of Jason Richardson.
Not even half, a fifth of Jason
Yeah,
Richardson.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, oh, you guys had Durrell, right on this
Right.
team. I think he was from the Heat.
Heat or the Mavericks, one of the two.
Interesting.
So
But yeah,
honestly, when I saw this trade, a lot of Sixers, like diehard Sixers fans, we were super excited about this trade, the Andrew
about
Bynum trade.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Because I think this was the year. This was when he won the championship with him, Powell, Kobe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he posted an 18-10 stat line that season, and you could just see the potential just flowing out of this 20-year-old kid, right? And so, looking at the past two seasons, we know that the Sixers overachieved, and we knew that this team composition wouldn't work in the long term because of the fact that we don't have any scorers on the team, no low post presence. It's not like we have deadly 3-point shooters. So it's just a bunch of players that play this mid-range game with
Mm.
and with no low post presence and no 3-point presence. So and this is I think the time when the NBA was starting to evolve. in the sense of where the mid game was very popular in the mid 80s to the mid 90s, but then now the 3 point line was being more heavily emphasized, and I think this was the transition slowly for the NBA to kind of gear towards that.
Right. I think at this point, Andre Iguodala wasn't shooting that many threes.
Oh.
He wasn't. He surely wasn't making any. But I guess like I feel like yeah, transition was kind of taking in place, but also big men definitely had their presence in the league. Just
Yes.
because I think Andrew Bynum, people were saying he might be the best center in the league. I
Well,
think
after
Shaq
Dwight,
said that. Yeah.
yeah,
So it
everyone
was
said he
either
was number two
yeah,
best.
either him or Dwight. But after the championship, they're like, oh, maybe Andrew Bynum's better. He
Yeah, yeah,
definitely was taller. If that helps. Um, but yeah, it's you guys were at 500. Now you guys ended the season at 34 and 48. Um, so Andrew Bynum never played a basketball game for the Sixers.
yeah. He went bowling in South Philly and then he messed up his foot. Yep.
Do you know the alley, that bowling alley he went
Oh no, I'm sure Sixers fans probably burned him down.
to?
Idiot.
Man, so you guys had no talent at the five. You guys had Spencer Hawes, Lavoy Allen, Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown.
He's on this team. So you guys had two former Lakers on your on your team. But yeah, this season I don't think it panned out the way you guys wanted it to
Yeah,
for the
and I
Sixers. Yeah.
and I think, and you have it on here too. This was a season that Drew Holiday had his coming out party, right? Because he
He
was
did.
literally the only player on the team. Evan Turner proved that he could play, but he had to be a ball dominating player,
Yeah,
which was an
I
issue
yeah,
too.
that's definitely a problem. I feel like in this league, if you're not like super talented,
Hmm.
then you can't really have like people that only succeed with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, because there's a lot of players like that, right?
Yeah,
If you're a volume
exactly.
player, then it's easy to put up stats.
But either way, Doug Collins resigned because it's just it's just the Sixers, and you know how they are. So
We're in a transitional period, right? For sure. Yes.
okay, yeah. Well, why don't we leave it at that?
Yeah.
So and it gets better, people. Going into the 2013 2014 season, we have okay. So I'll tell you, they went 19 and 63.
Impressive.
Yeah. So Brett Brown, brought from the Spurs, obviously under the Popovich coaching tree, and the Sixers brought in Sam Hinkie,
Missed that guy,
um,
man. He's my homeboy.
yeah, aka Mini Daryl Morey, and the tank begins, 2013.
Yep.
Starting five: Evan Turner, Michael Carter Williams, Thaddeus Young, Spencer Hawes, James Anderson,
Wow. Yeah, I
and
don't
a
even
bunch.
remember who James.
Who is
Oh, wait, James Anderson.
he might is he on the Nets right now? But who
Dude, I
is
can't.
Henry? Who's Henry Sims? I don't know who Henry
Oh,
Sims is.
he was a center. He was like our third center.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was bad.
Anyway, they only managed to win 19 games
Yeah.
this season.
I mean, so
Um,
this was the official tank that you mentioned.
right.
And the reason why I mentioned about Drew Holiday's coming out party was this is the year we traded him in the preseason. So
Which I really didn't understand because Drew Holiday was young enough to fit the timeline.
I mean, what I'm thinking is that, I think he was 25 at that point when he really broke out. Or no, he was 22. Okay, so he was really young.
He's so young.
Yeah. And he had all the intangibles of a point guard, right?
Uh huh.
He could shoot, plays great defense. So he literally is he plays offense and defense. And I think the Sixers, what I was thinking was that I was actually for the Drew Holiday trade, looking at how much we got in return. Because of the fact that we know that this team has to be blown up completely. So at this point, for me, I was thinking of it from a 5-year window now. And of course, 5 years for Drew Holiday, he'll only be 27, so he'll still be in his prime. And now looking back, it didn't work out, right? Obviously, we should have kept Drew Holiday because the capital
Oh,
that
okay.
we got in return, right, was Nerlens Noel and a first rounder, which we flipped again, anyways.
So you're a hinky truther.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, my thing is like it's either you're a championship contender or then you should tank. What's the point of being in this weird, awkward middle ground? I don't
That's
remember the
true.
last time NBA history where any seeding below 4 won the championship.
Yeah, you guys were in after that finals appearance with AI in '01.
We were
I
just
think you guys were like always stuck in that like that
500 constantly,
yeah, like that purgatory
like six to
area.
eight, which is
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Which
Yeah,
is I feel like right after their finals run, I think AI was knocked out the first round in
probably.
2002. So, yeah, and then we all know what happened.
Yeah.
So, either way, you traded. Okay, so you traded Drew Holiday
Mhm.
and whoever Pierre Jackson is. I think it was like a 5'10" point guard
Yeah.
for Nerlens Noel, which was a sixth pick, and the 2014 first rounder, which became Alfred Payton. MCW selected 11th overall, so two lottery picks. And Noel, of course, tore his ACL in college,
Mhm.
missed the first season after the knee surgery. You also traded Evan Turner and Lavoy Allen. And Evan Turner was actually starting to play well. He was kind of getting into just the flow of things, but you guys traded him away for a broken down Danny Granger and a 2015 second rounder. Um, yeah, so this trade, both sides weren't too happy about this trade. I think 76ers were warming up to Evan Turner and they traded him away, and then Danny Granger was left on the Pacers, and obviously Paul George not happy about it. Um, I mean that's just what I remember. Do you remember the sentiment with this trade for the Sixers fans?
Yeah. So, dude, honestly, right? For me, I didn't even remember this Evan Turner trade. Quite honestly, not like being completely transparent. I don't remember this trade at all because Danny Granger never played a game for the Sixers. So I think
Well,
we traded him.
you guys seem to be making a lot of trades like that where
Yeah.
they never
So I'm guessing what happened was that we traded away Evan Turner. Yeah, I do. I don't know. Honestly,
play.
I'm guessing we released Danny Granger because I'm sure he wasn't happy coming to a complete tank mode team and leaving an Indiana team that was showing very very much potential to make deep playoff run with Paul George just emerging.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, oh yes, I'm reading here. He was brought to the Danny Granger was brought to the Sixers, and then 2 days later he signed with the Clippers. So we released him as soon as we traded him. So we,
Yeah, like what was the point of this trade? You guys just gave like you guys literally traded for a second rounder.
yeah,
Maybe they didn't want to pay for Evan Turner because he was second pick,
yeah,
so
yeah. I mean,
it's
we
gonna be
knew
like
that we
what,
weren't
like
going to
eight
re-sign
mil?
him, so it was
Yeah.
more of a cap dump at that point. And I knew Sam Hinkie wasn't a fan of Evan Turner because Evan Turner from Advanced Statistics doesn't excel in anything, and that's
No, but he drafted
Sam Hinkie
Michael
did draft.
Carter Williams.
Well, Michael Carter, if you think about it from a potential standpoint, he has a lot of potential. He's a 6'7" point guard. The only thing that he can't do is shoot well, but he's a great making point guard. He almost averaged a triple double his rookie year. He actually won Rookie of the Year that year, I believe.
Wow.
Did he not?
So I think he did.
He
So
did.
he started the season with 22 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, and
Right.
9 steals against the Heat. I watched this game. I was like, wow,
I remember that. Yeah.
wow, what a pick.
Yeah.
11th All Star. And that that was it. And I just remember the Sixers trying so hard to I don't know, maybe build up his value so you guys could trade him or something. Because clearly, like, I mean, be honest, like halfway through the season, you knew what kind of point guard he was going to be. Like,
He
I remember his usage rate was like insane.
it was like Westbrook level
Yeah.
usage rate. So his stats were definitely inflated. Like looking at his stats, like 16.7, 6 and 6, but he has a crap turn. I remember he'll turn the ball over a lot too. And
Yep.
so
Yeah. He
yeah, I
wasn't
think
good.
this season was we knew it was going to be a wash. We were waiting for Nerlens to get healed up from his torn ACL, and then I guess we can transition to the next season because that's all that is to the season, right?
I like to point out that
Uh,
Thaddeus Young is still on this team, producing the same numbers.
yeah, he's
This guy is like
consistent,
a
man.
ghost. He's
Yeah, from Georgia Tech, man, he was consistent.
oh, he's
Unfortunately,
from Georgia Tech. Okay,
yeah, but he never got better.
he
Like he would
never
always
got
post
better.
like 16 and 8 every single season. Never add a
Yeah,
3 point thing to his game, but yeah, Thad Young, he's like the type of player you would want on any type of team.
that's
He's gonna
true.
work hard. He plays good defense. He'll do
I,
whatever you ask him.
I don't know. I've never wanted him on the Knicks. I'll just put that out there.
Oh, because no one wants to go in the Knicks. That's not even.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Next season. Okay, but anyways, the tank begins. Sam Hinkie is here. Brett Brown is here. And yeah, so into the process we go. 2014, 2015. Okay. So, they win one less game this season. The tank continues. Drafted Embiid third, Alfred Payton 10th, KJ McDaniels, that was interesting, 32nd, and Jeremy Grant 39th. So, pretty decent draft.
Yeah.
Only to trade Alfred Payton for Dario Saric. 2015 second rounder, Willie Hernan Gomez. I think they say Billy Hernan Gomez. He was traded to the Knicks, and 2018 first round, Andrew Shamet. Um, Thad Young is traded away.
Finally.
Rocco is signed. He's kind of unproven at this point, but
He was a D League player essentially.
yeah. So starting five: Michael Carter Williams, Nerlens Noel. He's finally healthy. Tony Roten. Wow. Okay. Luke Amute, Tim Frazier. Who? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Tim Frazier.
Rocco, Ish Smith, Isaiah Cannon, KJ McDaniel. So you have all these players just out of the D League back then.
Intentional. This is like as
Just
blatant as tanking as it gets right here.
wow, this is just terrible.
Mhm.
But I mean, decent. I really thought KJ McDaniel's was going to be like Tony Allen or something.
Yeah. Agreed. Yes.
He was making like crazy defensive plays, but that's literally all he knew how to do.
Yeah.
Um, so let me get your opinion
Yeah.
about this season.
So I think this season was the season that Sixers fans are really starting to see the vision of Sam Hinkie and what he was doing. And I think this was a season that now we're okay thinking that, all right, we'll understand the tanking for 2 or 3 more years because now we see what it's producing, right? The Joel Embiid pick. If his foot, if he didn't break his foot, I think it was his foot, then he was consensus
Yeah.
number 1 overall pick. No question about it, right? And so
Was he? Who went first this year?
that year it was it was he's on the Golden State Warriors now. He's our small forward. He sucks at defense. He was
Oh,
drafted by
Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins and who's his counterpart? Jabari Parker. The
Oh
Milwaukee.
yeah.
Yeah.
Two
So
bucks.
yep. So I think before Embiid got hurt, he was dominating in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. I remember him being pretty raw, and
Extremely raw. Yes.
Andrew Wiggins was allegedly the next LeBron or something like that.
Oh, not exactly. I mean, he was an athletic freak, but people thought he was going to become a very strong scorer, and his defense would eventually get there because of his athleticism. But now, we fast forward, we know that didn't happen by any means.
Yeah, and people are still hoping that
I mean,
he'll be good. He's okay now. He's not like terrible, but for a first overall pick, it's been
Very
a little disappointing.
yeah, for sure.
Because people hyped him up a lot. But either way, you guys picked up some good players. I feel like there are a lot of good young players on this team.
Yeah,
Either way, that didn't translate to wins.
which we knew,
To
obviously.
yeah, just to add to the meme season, JaVale McGee was added. Luke Ambute was only there to make Embiid happy.
Yes.
You guys could have used Alfred Payton. Just what I feel like.
So, as soon as he drafted Alfred Payton, that caused a lot of anger for Sixers fans actually.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about
Yeah,
that.
and the reason is that with Alfred Payton, he does what he does well is he's a great making point guard, right? Great playmaker, and he plays amazing defense, especially with that hair, right? Like people couldn't throw in the post because of his hair. But the problem was he could not shoot for the life of him. And so when
Right.
we drafted him, we are thinking, what are we doing with this player? We already have a team that can't shoot to begin with. So what is he going to add? And so when we drafted him, a lot of people were upset, honestly.
But that's so weird because I mean, yeah, like the rest of the roster can't shoot, but their additions weren't shooters either. So
And that's the thing was that was the one thorn that we had of thinking, what are we doing? We need shooting, so let's just draft shooting. So I remember this year, this for the draft, Sixers fans wanted Embiid, right, for that potential. And then two was that we were hoping that we could somehow land Dante Exum from Australia. He was that
mm,
combo guard that he was 6'6". He had potential of becoming a great shooter because his form was really clean and he could jump out the gym. So we were hoping that the Sixers would make a move with all the draft capital we had and move up. That didn't happen.
okay.
But this Alfred Payton pick worked out because we traded for Dario Saric, which I mean that came to fruition 2 years later since he was sent back to Europe.
Uh huh. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you stashed.
yeah,
Um, Either way, another tanking season for the 76ers. But it's kind of the start of your time with Joel Embiid,
hmm
which has been, I guess, semi-successful. Oh, Thomas Robinson was on this team.
yeah. Uh,
Alexei Shved,
yeah, Alexei Shved. Glenn
Drew
Robinson.
Gordon. Oh my gosh. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, it was just another disappointing season.
Yeah.
But it's Sam Hinkie. He's trying to tank as much as he can.
We
And
traded away MCW.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I feel like the NBA was getting a little concerned with
Yes.
all the tanking. I remember Sam Hinkie wrote a letter to
Was
the
it Adam
season
Silver there?
holders. I think so. I think Adam Silver was in the picture.
Because
By
he
2014.
took over around this time.
Yeah, around this time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's
Oh,
like
this
it
was
was.
actually his first season as commissioner.
Was it okay?
Yeah, he started in
So it
2015.
it was like a bit concerning.
hmm
Wow, Tony Roten averaged 17 points per game for you guys. You only played 30 games, but
That is still shocking.
either way, it wasn't good basketball to watch. I'll tell you that. It's
uh,
nobody was watching these games. I'll say that except Jason.
okay, yeah. So, yeah, this was a lost season more or less, but future was looking bright.
Eh,
Yeah, and because of
eh.
Embiid, we're thinking about Embiid.
I don't know. It was the second season where your drafted center couldn't play that year, so
Yeah,
it's like okay, we'll
but we
trust the
understood that.
process, but
Yeah,
it's like you took another guy that has to take a year off, but
yeah.
okay. So moving on to 2015, 2016. Oh, the
This is
tank
where
continues.
this is where it took a turn.
Yeah. So so you guys won 10 games out of 82 games. Um, I'll I'll read the starting five. Ish Smith, Jalil Okafor, Nerlens Noel, Rocco, Hollis Thompson. Um, to name some other players: Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Cannon, Nick Stalkis, T.J. McConnell. Rashawn Holmes is here. Kendall Marshall. Elton Brand is back. Oh,
As a
oh my god,
player, as a player.
dude! Christian Wood was on your team.
Yeah.
Probably from the D League. But anyways, so
Yeah.
you guys drafted Okafor third overall. I gotta tell you. So I think the Knicks had the fourth pick.
Yeah.
And we picked Porzingis, and I was so upset that you guys drafted Jaleel Okafor.
I felt the exact opposite
Yeah,
from a Sixers perspective. I hated that we drafted Okafor.
really? I was like, ah, dude, like, cause you knew the NBA was floating away from just center basketball,
Yeah.
but he just seemed like Elton Brand, pretty
Yeah.
much.
From Duke. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I feel like he can be a star. He can put up the numbers, and maybe that's what the Knicks need. And I was like, who the hell is Porzingis? Who
Yeah.
the hell is this kid? Worked out for us. Well, not in the long run, but so you guys drafted Jaleel Okafor. That okay. Traded really Billy Hernan Gomez for a 2020 and 2021 second round pick, and signed T.J. McConnell. So,
Mhm.
what do you remember about this season?
I hated the Okafor pick. I remember me and my Sixers friends, we were just trying to make reasoning behind it, right? Because now it's a logjam at center. It's Nerlens Noel who
Mm-hmm.
proved that he can't be a power forward because he has no
Mm-hmm.
game beyond 3 feet from the net, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's just an alley-ooper. Joel Embiid hasn't played yet, but we know that he had potential to shooting. But at 7'1", 260, it's kind of hard to make him a stretch four or a four for that matter. And then Okafor, while he was at Duke, I mean, he has shooting touch. But the thing is that he's not athletic at all. So we're thinking he has to
Mm.
play center too. So what are we doing with three centers on the roster? And that year, we knew that if we drafted Mario Hazonia from Spain that year, it would be a kind of a stretch at three. But I wanted the Sixers rather to reach for that and pick him, or even Porzingis, because Porzingis, everyone knew that he was going to be a stretch four.
Yeah.
So, so the draft was very disappointing, honestly.
Wow. Imagine you guys drafted Porzingis. That would have been like,
Oh, that would have been great.
wow.
Assuming, yeah, I mean Porzingis would be injured for 80% of the season, but when he's on the court, that would be nice. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. But either way, you guys had three centers. Embiid out for another year. So people think he's never gonna play. But winning 10 games now, the process comes to a halt because Sam Hinkie resigns. There's pressure from the NBA, and the NBA, who do they hire? Um, the Colangelo, the Colangelos.
Oh
So
yeah.
Brian Colangelo is, I think he's in charge of USA Basketball for men's, and his son was brought in, Jerry, to kind of, I guess, reorganize the Sixers so that they function like an NBA team again. But I mean, that did not work out that well. Do you remember what happened?
No, I don't.
But actually, I think that's more of next season. But Jalil gets into a bar fight in Boston
Okay.
before the season starts. Um, Definitely character issues. Now we don't know what's happening. It's like, how many centers are the Sixers gonna play? Um,
This was a
it's
dark
it's
time.
it was a mess. But at least Rocco, he's still developing.
Yeah,
Maybe the few bright side.
yeah. I mean, so there was Rocco. We were kind of losing hope in MB, thinking, okay, this was not foreseen that he's going to miss the whole entire second year, right? It's not like he went bowling too. And so this was concerning at this point was, did we just lose 3 years of Sixer basketball for a chronically injured Embiid and two centers that have two left feet? It was concerning. One,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I felt like that was definitely like Hinkie probably never planned for Embiid to sit out another year.
yeah,
I think that definitely did it. And also Nerlens Noel, when he played, people weren't as impressed as they thought they would have been for waiting a full year for him.
yeah. And
Which is kind of strange because like people knew the kind of player he was coming into the league, but I don't know. But it's just Sixers fans we're dealing with, so you know how you guys are. So
passionate. Yes, we do know that.
that's that's a
So I think what
word.
the hope with Nerlens was, he was drafted six overall, and he his athleticism was through the charts too, right? He was a 6'11", 220 power forward that could literally had like a 40-inch vertical. And so
Yeah, but he wasn't a power forward. That was the problem.
right, right, that's well, so on defense he could guard four or five. It's just that offensively he's so limited. And so I remember when he tore his ACL a lot of the news reporters coming out was that while he was rehabbing his knee, he was recreating his shooting form. But obviously that didn't pan out. I don't know what he was doing. But
Oh man.
defensively, I mean, he would be leading the league in blocks. Like he would always be top five because he's a great on-ball defender and he's a good weak side help because he's so agile. But that's all
Yeah.
that it amounted to more or less.
I feel like defensively, you guys have some pieces like Rocco, Jeremy. I really like Jeremy Grant. Like always,
Yes.
I was always high on him.
Yeah.
I we had his other brother Jerian Grant on the
Oh
Knicks,
yeah,
and
his point guard.
you
Yeah.
know he. Oh my gosh, he just sucked.
He was a
But
first. He was a first round pick too, a mid to
was
late
he?
first rounder.
Yeah, he was a late first rounder, and the guy sucked. Anyways, let's not talk about the Knicks. That's
Sorry.
for another day. It's a
Sorry.
dark period of my life.
Yeah. Still
Um,
is. Yeah.
that's yeah,
Yeah.
or not.
Giants too. Oh, so sad. Okay. Yeah. Sixers. Sixers.
Oh, you guys had Carl Landry on this team this year.
Yeah.
So there's some names of Phil
Recognizable name.
Presley. Phil Presley, I think this guy was like a really short guy too. Sonny Weems.
Like I know
Um,
Sonny Williams and Christian, but I don't know who Phil Presley is. I don't.
I think he played in Boston a little bit, but he was like a 5'10" guard. Obviously, he wasn't good enough to
Yeah.
stay around. But uh, Jaleel Okafor, he played his basketball. He averaged almost 18 points, so he was
Yeah.
getting the minutes. He was producing, shooting over 500, but he was what exactly you thought he'd be, and he wasn't helpful to the team.
Those stats are meaningless stats, more or less. It didn't impact the game. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's another season winning 10 games. Um, yeah, and I feel like at this point, I was having a blast as a Knicks fan. I'm
There's a team worse than the Knicks.
no, I'm just saying, you guys, you guys think this whole time
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah. No, seriously. That's
Oh
fair.
man.
Fair. 100%.
So I was having a great time. I would always mention it. I'm like, hey, what are you guys gonna do with three centers?
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, Knicks, signed 7 power forwards, but that's another story. But should we move on to the next season?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, 2016, 2017. The process continues with Brian Colangelo. Ben Simmons selected first overall, but has a broken foot. Sidelined for a year. So so you start season 3 years ago with no Nerlens Noel, 2 years ago with no Embiid, and actually 2 years ago, and
Jaleel was the only one that played his rookie season.
yes, and the season starts with the 76ers with 3 starting centers: Embiid, Noel, and Okafor. So yeah, so what's going on? What's going on, Jason? What happened?
So I think at this point, Brian Colangelo is lucky that this is his first season because one, he landed the first overall pick and got Ben Simmons, who was a consensus #1 pick, right? Everyone was saying he was
Mhm.
the second coming of LeBron, right? The 6'10" Aussie player that can
Yeah,
just
out
do
of
everything.
LSU. Yeah.
Yep, from LSU. And so that was a huge. We were ecstatic. We're like, okay, you know what? This process there could be something to this. And then they said that Embiid's going to play this season, so that was exciting. And even though the season started with Nerlens, Embiid, and Okafor, we weren't really too worried because we knew that that wasn't going to be the case. And we were just thinking, okay, what we're going to build with Embiid and Simmons. And that's all that we were thinking about at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So the starting lineup was meaningless to us. We were just waiting for Simmons to play next year. Right? And actually this season, this is when we called over Dario from Europe.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was actually surprisingly a very bright spot because this game was, as most Europeans' games are, it's very fine tuned already, because they played so many years of professional basketball, and so we were really envisioning this set of Simmons, Embiid, and Saric at this point. And
yeah. So
thinking-
he
and
had a
Rocco.
decent season. I wouldn't say like a great season, but he shot 41% from the field. I wouldn't say that's.
I mean, this
super
is his
great.
rookie season, right? So he's figuring out the NBA speed. So for us, that was good. No, of course not. Like it's not all star or anything like that. But we're thinking, oh, this guy can be a solid starter in the NBA, and he
Hmm.
could be the stretch four that we've been looking for.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's what we thought. We thought he'd fit well with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid finally plays only 31 games, averages around 25 minutes. But he averaged 20 points
yeah,
and around 8 rebounds,
and two and a half
2.5
blocks.
blocks.
Yeah, exactly.
So wow, like we kind of saw why he was drafted so high, and it was like, oh wow, if this guy can stay healthy, he can be the best center in the league.
And
I was pretty
arguably, like,
excited.
yeah, and I mean, seeing that, we were thinking. I mean, obviously best center, but we were thinking he could be a top five player in the league too, even as a big man, which is rare to see now because it's typically dominated by wing players. And this was when Rocco was at this point. I think this season Rocco proved himself to be a solid starter in the league. It's not that he's just going to be a defensive piece that he has to come off the bench. That it's that no, he could be a starter and contribute a lot. Be a three and
Yeah,
D wing player that every team
averaged
needs.
averaged 2 steals and 1 block.
Yeah,
That's impressive. You guys played Nick Stauskas 80 games for some reason. Um,
I
he's
think we got him from the Kings, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was known to be a shooter. And I think what we're and he was only 23 too, so I think we're giving this season a test season for him to see how he'd play if he could be our starting two guard next to Simmons. But he didn't really evolve into anything more than just a rotational piece off the bench. And yeah,
yeah, but TJ McConnell started playing more minutes. He was decent. He was averaged 7 points and almost 7 assists. So,
yeah,
he was out there. Oh, Gerald Henderson was on this team.
yeah.
Sergio Rodriguez. Rashawn Holmes was getting a little better. Justin Anderson. I was thinking about Justin Anderson. He
Yeah,
went to
that's
the Nets. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
with the blonde hair.
Yeah. You guys. Okay. So let's see some of the trades you guys made. So you guys traded Noel for Andrew Bogut, Justin Anderson, 2017 second rounder, 2018 second rounder, and then traded Jeremy Grant for Ilyasova and a protected 2017 first rounder, and then traded Urson Ilyasova for Tiago Splitter and two 2017 second rounders. So um, that's a lot of picks.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean Jeremy Grant essentially turned into three picks, one first rounder and two second rounders.
yeah, and Tiago Splitter, which was pretty
He was
decent
solid.
back then.
Yeah, he was solid.
Um, was that? Uh, I don't know if he was still on the Spurs or he was in Atlanta, something like that.
Yeah,
But either way, I mean, it wasn't he wasn't playing like he used to on the Spurs. But I mean, yeah. So you guys are getting better. You guys are winning some games, 28-54. The process continues, but Brian Colangelo, still a meme team. You guys still,
but so even though we were a meme team now, people were now seeing that the tanking and then rebuilding this could actually work. I
I,
think
you know why? But like, I don't know. I just felt like, yeah, tanking is going to work, but you guys just took like 2 3 years too long. I don't know.
uh,
I'm just putting that out there.
yeah, no, of course I think so. I mean, because we've had misses with Nerlens and Jaleel, and I think that's a given in any draft, right? It's about I think that to hit top five picks, it's sad enough to say, but I think that's like a 50% hit or miss, which is pretty high for that those types of players that are that talented. So
Hmm.
I think by law of averages, it kind of evened out, right? Because Ben Simmons and Embiid hit, Nerlens and Jaleel Okafor didn't. So based on that, of course, it could have been nice if it was only 2 years less, but I think by looking at that, then it kind of makes sense that it took 4 or 5 years to have like two all-star players. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like now it's just a matter of being healthy or not. But you guys are kind of starting to form, I guess, like sort of an identity. At this point, Brett Brown's still the coach, but obviously there's no real expectations.
yep,
So he's just
he's chilling.
taking the L's.
Yeah,
Like his career numbers must be like wow. But you know what? He was making money, so that's what it is. But I definitely saw his limitations as a coach which I did not expect to see coming from the Spurs coaching tree, which was kind of strange. You'd expect them to be at least decent regarding just X's and O's, but um, yeah, I don't know what he was good at, to be honest, but
So, I mean, we can talk about that when we get to this year. Yeah, we'll talk about
okay.
that. Yeah,
Then we'll move on to 2017, 2018.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Oh, this was a good season for you guys.
This is a painful season too, but
Yeah. So starting five: Ben Simmons, Rocco, Embiid, JJ Redick, Saric. On the bench, Marco Bellinelli, Ilyasova, Jared Bayless, TJ McConnell, and Markel
oh,
Fultz.
so Ben Simmons is it? Oh, sorry, you did say Benson. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, I just want to explain this. Okay, you guys had the third pick of the draft, mind you, third pick of the draft.
Yep.
You guys trade up by giving the third pick plus a 2018 first rounder to trade up for the first overall pick, which became um, Markel Fultz,
Mhm.
because they thought Bill Simmons was a small forward for some reason. Um, Terrible move in hindsight, but they said they needed a point guard, right?
Yeah.
So they draft Markel Fultz first round, first pick, and then Jason Tatum goes third overall, right? They signed JJ Redick from the Clippers. I think it was like a $20 million contract.
Yep. 1 year.
Yeah. And yeah, and then Brian Colangelo was like, Fultz is a starting shooting guard, which still didn't make any sense. No one knows what he's saying. Um, Embiid, I think, got like an extension after playing 30 games in the past like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a promising season for you guys. So, what are your comments about this season?
Yeah. Let's start with the draft because that was the beginning of the off season, right? So, we had the third overall pick, like you mentioned, traded a hefty price of a first rounder the following year to draft Markel Fultz. And
Mm-hmm.
and usually you don't see interdivisional trades, right? Because this is with the Celtics. So when this broke out, right, that the Sixers have traded for the first overall pick, Sixer Nation was ecstatic,
Yeah, they were.
right? And I think reasonably so, right? Because Markel Fultz was the consensus number one pick.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no doubt who was going to be number one overall. Because when you saw him play in college, he reminds you of Damian Lillard on the Blazers. He's a
Yeah.
combo guard that has unlimited range, and he could still make plays for other people. But I would actually argue that Fultz, he was a better defensive player too because he was long. He was 6'3", 180 with a lot, like I think a 6'7" wingspan. So he's like literally everything that you're looking for in this current NBA on a Sixers team that has not enough shooting, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
only mainly JJ Redick, Dario, who's slightly above average 3-point shooter. Because and so it was wow, like this perfect match, right? It's not that Ben Simmons will be a three, but it'll be that Markel Fultz will be the scoring guard for the Sixers, whereas and Ben Simmons will still dominate the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So this was perfect for us because Ben Simmons needed someone to take the pressure off and open up the paint for him and Embiid. Obviously, that didn't work out, and we'll talk about Fultz later on too, since. But anyways, this season was magical, man. It was Ben Simmons rookie year. He won rookie of the year, and I hate when people say, "Oh, he's not a rookie." I mean, when Blake Griffin won, no one mentioned anything about him. Just saying.
Yeah,
And
that's true. Yeah.
yeah, and honestly, at the end of the day, too, who was Donovan Mitchell on the Utah Jazz? It was between Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell, and Donovan thought it was gonna be close, but when the voting came out, man, he got swept by Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. Like the impact that Ben Simmons had versus Donovan Mitchell was on two different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but Ben Simmons was like he was different.
he was. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so this was the first season that we got to see Embiid play a full season. Like he'll never play all 82 games, but he didn't. have a massive injury where he missed like
Yeah.
50 games, right?
He played 63 out of 82. So,
It's pretty good.
I mean, honestly, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Joel Embiid 63 games,
yeah,
rest him up for playoffs.
yeah, exactly. Ben Simmons played all but one game. I think we probably just rested him at the end of the season. And JJ Redick was, I mean, he was magical for us too, because
He was great for you guys.
yeah, and Rocco really shined with Ben Simmons. So this season, first round we beat the Heat. Second round we lost to the Celtics. I think in 5 games. It was pretty bad. Even though every
Mm-hmm.
game was close, we lost them in 5 games. And I think 3 of those games we were leading pretty big too. So, but the thing was, even though we thought we should have beat the Celtics, just because of how new of a team we are, and teams didn't know how to defend us, right? Because this was all new for everyone. We weren't disappointed that we lost to the Celtics in 5 games because we were thinking this is year one now. And now Simmons can only get better, and B can only get better, and we're hoping that what's our coach's name again? That what's his name?
Brett Brown?
Brett Brown would continue to become a better X's and O coach, right?
Yeah. You guys gave him like 4 years too many.
Yeah,
my
I mean,
opinion.
hindsight is now, 2020, but at the same time too, we didn't give him a roster that he could really work with, so he stuck through the hard years.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
you know what? It probably didn't feel because you guys lost to the Celtics with no Kyrie Irving, and you guys got destroyed by Scary Terry and Jason Tatum.
oh yeah,
The guys you guys could have had, and essentially Jason Tatum could have filled the
the gap.
who's your small forward right now?
Roka. Well,
No, no,
now
no.
or
Yeah,
at this time?
right now.
Well, we don't. Oh, it's Tobias Harris.
Yeah, Tobias Harris. So pretty much, an upgraded Tobias Harris is Jason Tatum. Just
Oh, easily.
that's a diss to Tatum.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, yeah. That's a distant for sure.
And Embiid did not play well against Al Horford at all.
God. Yeah.
We'll get to Al Horford
Yeah,
in a
we'll get
bit.
to that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But either way, it was kind of I was kind of getting the same vibes. Like you guys picked a first overall pick, pretty much I guess kind of injured throughout the season.
Well, no.
Um,
So the thing with him was when we drafted him, he was fine. This whole
he
what is
was
it called? This whole shoulder thing. I did a lot of research on it. That thing happened over the summer. So he played summer league games, and then all of a sudden, it was like thoracic outlet syndrome, TOS, or something like that,
yeah, where he like forgets how to shoot.
more or less. And so he was actually healthy when we drafted him, and that's why he was expected to start,
Right.
right? But then this happened, which
Well,
I mean,
either way, he forgot how to shoot.
mhm.
An NBA player forgot how to shoot. Drafted first overall, forgot how to shoot. Like I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable. I'm glad he's doing well now,
Oh,
but
100% unacceptable.
what a waste of a pick. If you guys, so like I just felt like just overall, you guys tank for like most of the decade,
Mhm.
and you guys were in the top 5, top 6 with picks like the whole time. I feel like for the amount of opportunities given, it wasn't the final product that Sam
Oh,
Hinkie envisioned.
of
You
course,
know,
yeah.
the process finished, but at the end of the day, was this really the final product that you guys were looking for? I
So we
doubt
can
that.
talk about that. Yeah, moving
Okay,
on. Yeah.
but it's just a kind of a disappointing ending. While still hopeful, you guys have good young pieces, and also JJ Redick, Ilyasova, Bayless. So there's a good dynamic going on.
Yeah, so the way the season ended was definitely disappointing, but now we could really see the fruit. So we were more
Right,
excited than disappointed moving
right.
forward. Yeah.
If I was Philly GM, I would have gotten rid of Brett Brown this season. To be honest, but I mean,
Oh,
it's unfair. It's
yeah.
unfair because he went through all the bad seasons with the 76ers, and he was part of the process. But look at Byron Scott. He was just tank commander, and then they just got rid of him. I mean, yeah, I get that they got rid of him for Luke Walton, which was not that much of an upgrade, but or was it someone else? But either way, I feel like I don't know. Just
The problem
make
was
that
was that
decision.
a lot of the young players endorsed Brett Brown very strongly. So from a GM standpoint, you would have upset, especially your star players of Simmons and Embiid.
I don't know, but they're at this point they're all under 24, 25. Like
And that's the problem too, right? Is that since they're so young, Brett Brown was essentially their leader from a coach and a player perspective. So he actually held a lot of that together because of his chemistry with the players, even though X's and O's he lacked.
okay,
That's
okay.
the reason why we hired Brett Brown. He was really good at player development. That's what he was
Hmm.
known for on the Spurs.
Okay. Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know that. Okay.
yeah. So that's the main reason. Yeah,
Alrighty, but okay, so they won 52 games this season, and we move on. Hickey's dream came true, kind of, and we go into the 2018-2019 season. Okay, I'll name you some of the players that had major minutes. Wow, this so many moves this season. Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Rocco, Embiid, Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, Saric, Wilson Chandler, Mike Scott, Markel Fultz, Mike Muscala, Landry Shamet, TJ McConnell, Greg Monroe. I think you guys signed him like towards the end of the season.
mid-season. Yeah,
Um, Jonathan Simmons, Furkan
Korkmaz.
Korkmaz, uh, Boban, Boban, Tobias's best friend, Amir Johnson still on this team somehow. So let me read you something that the Ringer found out. So on May 29th of 2018, the Ringer published a an investigation alleging Colangelo used up 5 secret Twitter accounts to disparage his predecessor, Hinkie, as well as several 76ers during players including Embiid and Okafor. The next day, the 76ers commenced an investigation and Colangelo denied. And then on June 7th, he ended up resigning due to the Twitter scandal. So it's like it's like like what's going on and who put this guy in charge?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
I understand if you're KD and you want a burner account to like fight your haters, but like
no, Katie's a girl. Hate Katie.
yo, but like if you're
Yeah,
like the president of an NBA organization, what is this? You know, that's how you start off the season. Okay.
yeah. And it was honestly when this was happening, I kind of ignored it because I was thinking, you know what? I don't really care. Let's just get the season started because I was excited for the season more or less.
Right.
So I
Okay.
didn't really give too much emphasis on this because of the fact that it's not like the team. I mean, even if the team gets fined financially, I don't care, right? But it's not like we lost draft picks. That oftentimes happens in baseball for scandals. So I didn't
Hmm.
really care too much about it. The one thing that I was glad about was I was glad that Colangelo resigned because Sixers fans don't like Colangelo altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No one wanted him there
yeah
except Adam Silver.
yeah I know. So and we really wanted Hinkie to come back.
Yeah, but Hinkie, isn't he like a venture capitalist,
Yeah,
like doing
and
his
he
own
said he'll
thing?
never come back either. So
Yeah, good, good. You guys treated him like that. Definitely not making the same money here.
so yeah, I mean Elton Brand is now the GM, which I was actually excited for. I really liked Elton Brand as a player. I think he's a smart guy. Definitely knows how to connect with players since he was a former player, and you only heard good things about Elton Brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So you guys drafted Michael Bridges, 10th overall,
yeah from
and his mom is freaking out because she works for the Sixers, and 46 minutes later, uh, you guys trade him to Phoenix. Oh, dude, that was so funny. And then you guys drafted Zaire Smith. Is that the guy with the allergies?
Yep. He had an
Okay,
allergic reaction, lost 20 pounds. He's an idiot.
uh huh. And Andrew Shamit with which was good for you guys for the limited time you guys were um with him. Wait, how is Zaire Smith?
He
I don't
doesn't
even
play.
know if I'm
He sucks.
he sucks.
He's
Okay,
even in trades, he has no value. He's
16th. It's pretty high.
Do you know anything about Zaire Smith coming out of college? So
No.
So he was this guard that I don't think he even started actually. The only reason why he was a first round pick was because once again he's super athletic. He has good size.
Mm.
He's I think 6'4", 6'5". Can jump out the gym, play great defense, and he wasn't known as a shooter. But when he did take threes in college, he made I think 40% of it. But it was very skewed
Okay.
because of such a limited size.
Mm.
And after that allergic reaction his rookie season, he can't get on the court. So he's a waste of a pick
Oh
too.
man. You.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. You guys traded for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy, you effing need me Butler. Targeted Carl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and you guys sent away Rocco, who's been very good for you guys. I wish you guys kept him. Dario Saric, Bayless, and a 2022 second rounder. But which is a that's a decent trade to get someone like Jimmy
That
Butler.
was a steal.
Yeah,
That
that
was a
was a
steal to
steal.
get Jimmy Butler. Yeah.
And you guys re-signed JJ Redick and Amir Johnson.
Mhm.
Amir Johnson never goes away. He's
Uh,
somehow still on this team.
he's like that cockroach you can't kill.
Kind of he's like Udonis Haslam, but
Yeah.
um less important.
Yeah.
Also mid-season traded Wilson Chandler, Muscala, and Shamit. 2020 protected first rounder, 2021 unprotected first rounder, 2021 and 2023 second rounder for Tobias Harris, Bobin, and Mike Scott, which was a understandable trade. You guys took
Yep.
on a lot of money, I'll say that, but and I kind of feel bad for Tobias Harris because everyone always trades him.
I know. Yeah.
But I think he kind of found a home with the Sixers, but that's to be determined.
Yeah. No,
But
so we didn't take a lot of money here because Tobias wasn't. He was still on his rookie deal here.
no, no, no way.
Sixers re-signed him once we traded for him, so we
No,
didn't
but
take
he
money
was
here.
still making money. He was what? How old was he? He was 26 at this point.
Yeah, but he was still. I think he was on his rookie contract. He wasn't making much money here.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta look this up later.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Um.
though. Yeah.
Okay, so the Markel Fultz fiasco is over. You guys traded him away for Jonathan Simmons and picks. But just overall, that was a fail. Like you do admit
Oh, of course. Oh, no doubt.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
just first overall. And he's playing well in Orlando right now, but just didn't work out for you guys.
Yeah.
And what a miss! I feel like that was such a pivotal moment for the Sixers to determine
If it's gonna be like a
um
dynasty or not.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what happened. So
Yeah. But at the
uh
same time too, I can't you can't put blame on the Sixers either because this is that's why people are saying Fultz might be the biggest bust in history because he went through something that no one could have foresaw coming, right? Like people often say Greg Oden's a huge bust, but at the same time too, everyone knew he had injury issues, and injuries is what cut his season short or his career short for that matter.
yeah.
Yeah,
But Greg Oden was legit. I mean, all these high picks were legit except like in college, except like Kwame Brown and like Anthony Bennett.
but Anthony
Anyway,
Bennett, that 2003 NBA draft class was a huge unknown too because that was one of the weakest draft classes in history.
right? What was
Yeah,
it?
or not 2003,
Oladipo,
I think that was
Oladipo one
2007.
second.
That's the thing, I don't even know. I think was it Otto Porter Jr. I think it was the Wizards.
Otto Porter, I think was third. I think that was the draft with Giannis,
Otto.
but the rest.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so the Markel Fultz thing it hurt, but can't even blame the Sixers for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But so just like as a Knicks fan, obviously, and the Sixers are pretty good now, so you end up watching the games, but you kind of see more of um Brett Brown's limitations as a coach.
yes, this was the season
Definitely
now. Yeah, it's becoming.
there was so much talent on this roster, obviously. Like everyone can see that, but definitely not a cohesive unit. I felt like there was more cohesion the year before
Oh,
during
easily. Yes.
yeah, and
Uh,
there's just so many mouths to feed. I just felt like Jimmy Butler definitely needs the ball in his hands. Same with Ben Simmons. They're not. you know, it's not like they can't do anything, but they kind of sit around until they get the ball. And Tobias Harris, he's good. He's good. He's a great player. But if you're gonna overpay someone like that for the to be a spot up shooter, is it really worth that much money? But Embiid, from what I remember, had a very good season. I mean, this was only last year, and
I think he
let's
was doing
see,
like 27, 12, and 3 or something like that. It was very dominant.
yeah, yeah, 27.5 and 13.6 rebounds. And he pretty much saved my fantasy season this year. Yeah, people were not drafting him that high,
I
and
see.
he
Oh,
saved my ass. Yeah,
especially for a big man being such a good free throw shooter too. That's huge.
yeah.
Yeah, for fantasy at least. Yeah,
He didn't really help your field goal percentage much
as a center should.
as a
Yes.
center,
Yeah,
but he kind of evened out with my other players. But either way, he was getting me points and rebounds
and
and
blocks
blocks.
and
Yeah.
assists. I think he averaged like 4 assists that season
Oh
too.
yeah, he was really good this season.
Yeah, everything.
Um, and but at the uh, it was kind of they were just kind of forced together all these different players with different talents, which might have not fit. And I feel like that might be just the epitome of Sixers basketball from my talent. It's kind of there, but they can't really seem to put it together. So, I
Yeah,
said a lot. So let me know what you think about this season.
yeah. I mean, so moving past the draft, which I thought was another fail. I thought Mikal Bridges was a perfect fit, 3-and-D wing player.
Yeah,
Could come off
like
the
why trade
bench.
him away?
I don't know, and he was NBA ready too. I mean, he was a little older, wasn't as athletic as Zaire was, but we could have used him now, which is we're in win now mode. So I don't understand that move. Off season was a huge win, resigning JJ to I think it was a 2 year like 20 million. So we paid
Yeah.
half of what he was initially getting this first year. And yeah, I mean the season was starting off well. Midseason was obviously the big spark, right? We traded for JB and then we traded for Tobias for really pennies on the dollar. I thought both trades were huge steals. I
Yeah.
was okay with us packaging away tons of draft picks because at this point we
You
don't
guys have
need
plenty.
draft picks right
Yeah.
now. We just need to win.
Mm-hmm.
And then playoffs came. We were cruising through the playoffs, and then of
Mm-hmm.
course the second round came about, and that's when we were facing the Raptors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was our worst matchup. I really wanted us to face the Bucks, even though they were number one overall. I think that's when Giannis
Mm-hmm.
won his first MVP season that year with him, Chris Middleton, and Brooke Lopez. And yeah, I mean, so the Raptors, they were a tough matchup because Sixers this season always had a hard time guarding combo guards that can score off the dribble. It was apparent throughout the entire season. We had a hard time with that in general. And so I knew this was going to be a tough series, even though we had so much talent, especially because of our coaching limitations. And the Raptors head coach, he was just so good, right? Even though it was his rookie
Yeah,
season,
Nick
you could
Nurse.
tell he was
Yeah,
special. What's his name?
Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse, yes. And I mean, honestly, like Kawhi was just a monster in that playoff series, moving into the series itself. I think he was dropping like 28 a game. We just couldn't stop him. And yeah, I mean, it went down to game 7, obviously, right? And yeah, it was the quadruple doink that sent the Sixers home.
Yeah,
that
dude,
was
I was like screaming.
that was
I was like, ah.
because honestly, right? I was thinking, so game 6 Sixers won, right? And then I was thinking, if we go to game 7, if we win, I was thinking if we win game 7 against the Raptors to advance, we're gonna win not the championship, but we're gonna get to the NBA Finals. I didn't see the Bucks as an issue at all to the Sixers roster. Because I think with Giannis, because I think we went 2-1 against them during the regular season.
Okay.
Because our makeup of our team was very for preventing Giannis to go off. Because we had Ben Simmons, we had JB, we could even put Embiid on him because Giannis usually plays inside anyways, and then we'll just force Chris Middleton and who's our point guard who can't shoot his name. But anyways,
McConnell.
huh?
TJ McConnell.
No, on the Bucks. Who's a point guard?
Eric Bledsoe.
Eric Bledsoe, yeah.
Okay.
Like we'll force them to shoot, and we're gonna just shut down Giannis. Yeah, and so And then obviously, hindsight's 2020, but then with the Golden State Warriors losing KD,
Mm,
I think the Sixers would have beat the Golden State Warriors,
yeah.
the KD-less Warriors. So I think that was our year to win it all, especially because I think talent-wise too, we were more talented than the Raptors, hands down.
Oh yeah.
We were more talented, I think, than the Bucks, even though they're the number one seed on paper. Coaching-wise,
Yeah.
they were miles apart, but we had just so much talent that it showed. Even lack of coaching, we still almost made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And so yeah, this was the season that really it broke our hearts, right?
Mm.
Because of how much talent we have, but we were thinking, oh, you know what? We're gonna run it back, so we're good. That was the thought, honestly. We are thinking, you know what? We're gonna sign JB to a max. We'll sign Tobias to a max, and then at that point, we won't have much money, but it's okay. We'll win with our starting five. Was the thought. Yeah, because I just looked up. Tobias was only making $9 million that year.
Right.
Yeah,
So you guys would have won the championship if you guys beat um the
the Raptors.
Raptors.
Yeah,
If if obviously Golden State had the same injuries,
yeah,
which
exactly.
you never know what would have happened, but just from the matchups, and they were definitely more likely to beat the Bucks than the Raptors, actually, from
Yeah,
what I remember. And nobody wanted to face the Sixers, you know,
yeah.
in the playoffs. Even the following year, like it's like nobody wants to play against Embiid.
Yeah.
But Embiid always runs into centers, like these old, like bigger centers that he can't seem to do whatever he wants.
So
Um,
Marcus
so he
All was Marcus All shut down Embiid against when we were facing the
exactly,
Raptors.
yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, and once that happens, Embiid kind of gets shy,
Yes. He gets very
takes
passive.
outside shots, kind of defers a little bit. But at that point, he's gotta earn his money. He's making a lot of money,
Mhm.
you know. But I just felt like in the playoffs too, it kind of showed Embiid and Ben Simmons kind of inexperience because Jimmy Butler would take over
Yep.
in the fourth.
Yep.
And we saw that clearly, like evidently in um the finals that just happened.
Mhm.
But it's like he's a finisher, and I just felt like losing him next season was a big loss to the Sixers.
Yeah. I mean, so we can just now
Um,
transition right to the next season.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So this season, 51-31, really good. Had championship aspirations. They, as a GM, Elton Brand, he did the best he could to bring on the most amount of talent he could.
Yep.
A lot of lucky signings or a lot of lucky trades, favorable to the Sixers, but and we start the season. We're at year 10 now,
Wow.
2019 to 2020
This
season.
past season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and okay. I mean, you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, so the off season was, you know, yeah. So the off season came, right? Sixers fans were assuming that we're going to re-sign JB to 5-year max, bring back Tobias Harris, even though he underperformed in the playoffs. And obviously that didn't happen, right? We sent Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat on a 4-year max contract, which I thought was very interesting, right? You would think that
Hmm.
the Heat would do a sign and trade so that the Sixers could sign him to a 5-year deal and then send him over. But I thought that was interesting. Still don't understand that fully, but we traded him for Josh Richardson, which he's a two guard that is good
Can't
at
shoot.
everything. He's not a good shooter. I wouldn't say he's a good shooter.
He's an average
Average
shooter.
shooter, but he does everything else well. Great defender. He has a good inside game. He's a hustler, right? And then since we lost JB, then we signed Al Horford to a 4-year, $109 million, which honestly I was okay with that, honestly, because my thing was I was all for
Wow.
us re-signing Jimmy Butler, and this is where I was obviously wrong, right? Was I was thinking, you know what, Jimmy Butler, I think he's like 31 right now, I think, right? So he's not young by any means.
Hmm.
I was thinking, okay, 5 years. He probably has like two more solid years of All Star level,
Right.
and then the remaining 3 years. Then what? We're going to be paying him $30 million a year for what?
Uh huh.
Maybe like 12 points and 6 rebounds and 4 assists, maybe.
Hmm.
So when we lost Jimmy Butler, I was thinking, okay, like let's see what we can do now, right? And then when we signed Al Horford, I was thinking, oh, Embiid misses about 20 to 25 games for injury slash rest, And when we do play Al Horford, we could just play him at backup center. So he'll still get at least 25 minutes, 30 minutes a game.
No, but at $109 million to a 33-year-old center that's undersized.
Well, so the thing with Al Horford is that even though he's 33, his play style has been consistent from when he was 25 to even his last year as a Celtic. His numbers have been very consistent. And his gameplay is very conducive for him to play very old too, honestly. He's very technical.
Uh,
Honestly, I feel like if Al Horford was under a normal coach with a normal brain, he,
Normal
he
coach.
would still be getting like 16 points and 8 rebounds. Because
Oh,
Al Horford, he's such a smart player. Like he will be a head coach when he retires.
he's smart.
So
I'll give you
smart.
that.
And he's
But
such a good defender too.
I just okay. But think about this. What is the logic of giving a 33-year-old a 4-year, $109 million deal? Okay, so we all know that Jimmy Butler was not going to resign. He said, I don't know who was in charge of the 76ers.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way I was gonna go back there." And he loved how D-Wade was treated in Miami. Blah blah blah. Okay, that ship has sailed. But to use that money on Al Horford just because Al Horford kind of gave trouble to Embiid in the playoffs, I was like, what? Why are people so happy about this? Like that sentiment I didn't understand. They're like, oh, this is so great. He's gonna play power forward, which is his natural position. No, it was never his natural position. He
Well, on
plays
the
the best
Hawks, he
at
was on the Hawks. He did play power forward before he came to the Celtics.
on the Hawks. He played center
No, initially he
because
played power forward, and he was solid at power forward too.
no, but that's when he was young, when he was
Yeah,
like really young. But even then, he still shared minutes with Josh Smith and Paul Millsap. He always excelled when he was an underside center, and which was kind of weird. And I think he definitely complained about that in Atlanta. But I think overall, it's like like what is the logic of signing a player clearly that will go into his decline? Like people were saying, okay, this guy, like just like you said, he's going to um, do things for this offense. Things that we can't get from other players. Blah blah blah. It's gonna be a great fit next to Embiid. Clearly, that did not work out. Both
yeah,
of them need to play center, and they can't play with each other. I think didn't you guys bench Horford at a certain point? He was coming off the bench.
yeah. I think to clarify, so I wasn't happy about the Al Horford signing. I was
Okay.
I understood what they were going after. Like I could see what they're thinking, but I wasn't a. It wasn't like an outrageous signing. But I was thinking, oh, I
Hmm.
wish maybe it was 2 years. You know. And I'm just looking through the free agency list here to see what other players we could have potentially signed. And I think the big signing I would have wanted the Sixers to make was Malcolm Brogdon from the Pacers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
would
would
have
have been
been
a
really
perfect
good for
fit.
you guys.
Yeah, but then I think he committed pretty early on to what team did he sign with?
Pacers.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. He went from Milwaukee to the Pacers, right? Yeah, and he got a 4-year, $85 million contract. Something, huh? Yeah, we could have done that rather.
That's cheap
That's a
for
great
him.
deal.
Yeah.
I think he was coming off an injury too. That's why he got kind of skinned on
Yes,
that deal.
and he's been much better than Eric Bledsoe. I don't know what the Bucks were thinking.
Yeah, or we could have re-signed JJ, which I thought we should have. That was a huge loss. JJ's loss, I think, was a lot bigger than what people initially thought it would be.
Oh yeah.
That was massive. Like he was actually the glue to our offense.
No, but like you guys traded JJ to bring in Josh Richardson. Okay, okay. It's like okay, maybe
No, we traded. JJ left in free agency to the
yeah,
Pelicans.
but only because you guys did not sign him. I think he was more than willing to stay.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah.
Like he
He,
knew there was trouble, but um sorry, like from my memory, like he didn't want, to move because of his kid and all that
he wants
stuff.
to stay in Philly. He made that crystal
Yeah.
clear. Yeah.
And they didn't give him the money that he wanted. And honestly, I think he deserved the money.
Oh,
Cuz
no doubt.
Josh Richardson, yeah, he's good, but he hasn't been amazing, especially because he needs the ball kind of in his hands too. A good overall player, but I really feel like not the player that the Sixers need.
Agreed.
And I felt the same way about Tobias Harris. Okay, great scoring option, behind Embiid. But at the end of the day, he that's all he's good for, though. Don't you
But
think?
that's all we need, man. If you think about it, right? It's we just needed someone to spread the floor, catch and shoot threes, which he was amazing with the Clippers. He shot at 45% clip, but of course when he came to the Sixers, that dropped to like 34%. I don't know why.
But I mean, but a 5 year, $180 million deal for a
So
scoring option
that's the
spot up
thing,
shooter.
right? It's tough because we were stuck in this position where we knew that another team would offer him. That's not max, FYI. It's underneath max, but
Okay.
yeah, not to say that he didn't get overpaid. He did get overpaid. It's just that we were stuck in this awkward position where it's either we overpay for him or we're gonna
Uh
lose
huh.
him, and then what are we gonna replace him with? And I'm looking at the list here right now of the free agents that year, and there weren't good options, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, so it was we were stuck in a hard place. So we were forced. Our hand was forced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really feel like it was Elton Brand's mistake to let JJ walk,
yeah,
even if he traded for Josh Richardson,
agree.
because
Yeah,
he would have you always can find room for a shooter,
yep. Especially
especially
that
as
good of a
elite,
shooter.
and especially with a team that is severely lacking shooting.
Yep.
I mean, okay, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Embiid, Furkin, Korkmaz, whatever, Alec Burks. They all shoot threes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no one's shooting threes, but no one's hitting it at a 400 500 level. Oh, the Milton guy, that guy didn't
Shake.
he ended up starting towards the end of the season, and he I guess kind of made it a little better with his shooting.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, Shake Milton. I mean, so this was after Ben Simmons. He had a fracture in his back,
Hmm.
and then when the NBA resumed, then we said that Shake Milton's going to be our starting point guard. And I mean, he did well. I think he was averaging like 16 points and 5 assists. But in the playoffs, I mean, you know how playoff basketball it really shows how good you really are because teams are not going to
Yeah,
focus on your weaknesses, and
yeah.
he didn't really do much. Which it's not fair for us to expect him to do anything
Uh
because he
huh.
was a D League player right before this.
Right.
I think what was concerning was, once Ben Simmons went down, everyone, all the Sixers, all the NBA knew that the Sixers weren't going to go deep in the playoffs, if at all, right?
Yeah.
I think it was just really disappointing that we got swept though by the Celtics,
Oh
even though the
yeah.
Celtics were a good team. And like Tobias Harris had a horrendous series. Joel Embiid underperformed too. Even what's the Celtics center's name? I forgot his name.
Tice, Daniel Tice.
No, the starting center. He's the backup. He's very loudmouth. He always talks
Starting
trash to
center
Russell Westbrook.
on the Celtics.
Yeah, on the Celtics. Let's see. And his Cantor. That's his name.
Oh, Cantor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even he said, "Oh yeah, our game plan is, Embiid's gonna go crazy in the first half. Second half, he's gonna be dead tired, so we're not worried." That's literally what happened.
Yeah. They always say he's fat or something, but
Yeah, essentially he is.
and just watching this team, obviously, um, Philly's close by, so it's always a team that I pay attention to. Um, this team really felt like it didn't seem like a Philly team to me. Like we start the decade with that team with under
Mm.
what's that guy name? What's the
Iguodala.
coach's name? Yeah, Iggy. This defensive team, always around the eighth seed, but that was a cohesive unit, and they forced wins to the best of their talents, and they played like a team, and they were grinding. They somehow managed some wins in the playoffs. Even that deep run, like nobody expected that. This, injuries did help, but either way, no one expected that. So, and I didn't see any of that from this team, and it's like that was really disappointing. Maybe I saw a little bit of that with Matisse,
Yeah,
with
Matisse
their draft
Thybulle.
pick,
He
and
was one of the.
yeah, I really do like him. I think he's a very good defensive player, and he shoots threes like that's pretty much exactly what you want.
Yeah.
either way, it was a very disappointing end to the season, not just because of Ben Simmons' injury,
Mhm.
but because of I feel like just the whole demeanor and attitude of
This
the
team didn't have
roster.
heart, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And you know what? They're getting paid a shit ton of money, you
Yep.
know? It's so much money that they've invested into this roster. Now, unless they make some trades, I feel like they will this offseason. Somehow try to get out of Al Horford's contract. But they're gonna have to give up assets, I feel like, to get rid of Al Horford. He's I think the lowest he's been in terms of um
Value.
yeah, value. Same with Josh Richardson. Maybe not Tobias Harris, but Tobias, like nobody wants to spend 180 million on him. You guys were in a position where you had to, or you guys lost him, you know.
Yeah.
So, just at the opportunity cost of just not having him there was greater than saving that money. But for other teams to trade for him at 180 million dollars, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, so Josh Richardson will he's actually a very attractive um trade off like trade piece for us because he's still young. He's 26. He still has a lot of potential if he can start to continue to work on his 3-point shot. And he's on his last year of his contract, which he's only making like 7 million. So he's a very favorable player as an asset for a team. So yeah, I mean, I think we're coming at the end of 2020 of this year's decade, but I think it's really promising looking forward now. Now that Brett Brown is gone, we have Doc
Oh,
Rivers.
promising, you say?
Yeah, I honestly I don't think the season can get worse than what we just went through this past season.
Oh, it can get worse.
I don't think so.
Oh, it can.
Well, I mean, I understand why you're saying that because you're a Knicks fan, so you've seen the pits for
Wow.
20 years now, right? But I mean,
Oh
think about
man.
it, right? I mean, just looking into the future, the Raptors are going to lose a lot of players. They're going to lose Fred VanVleet. He's gone. And I think they overachieved last season too a lot, honestly. And it's
Yeah.
because a lot because of Fred VanVleet's emergence, right? And of course, their power forward, what's it? Bam.
Siakam.
Oh, Siakam, sorry, Siakam. So, I don't think the Raptors are going to continue being a top 3 team, obviously.
Yeah.
The Bucks, they're kind of at a crossroads right now too. It's as if they peaked 2 years ago and now they're kind of stuck in this weird spot, right? Chris Middleton's not getting better. Giannis won his second MVP, which I thought LeBron should have won, but
Yeah.
even Giannis is kind of peaking right now, and like there hasn't been any new facets of his game that has gotten better.
Uh huh.
So it's like teams know how to play him now. So that's a problem
Yeah.
for the Bucks. So the Bucks will be a top 3 team, but I don't think they'll be as dominating. And even this last year, they weren't that dominant either. So they look very beautiful.
They are a regular season team.
Yeah, yeah. And then who else is there then? Like Miami Heat represented the Eastern Conference, but realistically, I think they went on a magical run. And I don't think they're
Oh,
gonna.
really?
I mean, just looking on paper, right? It just doesn't make sense of how they made it to the finals, right? Whether it be the bubble, so forth, who knows, right? We can't make any
Uh huh.
hypothesis on that. But on paper, through an 80, well, it's gonna be a shortened season too, so I don't know how many games it'll be. Maybe like
I,
70.
I think it's 72
70. Oh,
starting in
okay,
December. Yeah.
okay. So even over 72 games, I could see them being maybe a fourth or fifth seed, but I don't see them being a top 14.
Really?
I
Huh.
don't, I don't,
No,
because
but well, I mean, cause like okay, they have Kendrick Nunn going into his second year.
yeah,
Same with who's
Tyler
that white
Hero,
kid? Yeah, Tyler
Duncan
Hero,
Robinson.
Duncan Robinson, and I feel like they're gonna make some moves. I don't think their roster will stay intact.
So
Um,
I think they'll make moves next season when that's the big free agency market for 2021. But for this
okay.
free agency class, I don't think there's a lot of big names out there. You know what I mean? Because if there were, then there'd be so much more news about the offseason being shortened and the teams needing to sign
Right.
immediately. Because the big name is Anthony Davis, but everyone knows he's going to go back to the Lakers.
Right. So, but I feel like I mean we'll see in the next coming days. I
Yeah, yeah.
think free agency is gonna start soon after the draft on the 18th. We're recording this by the way on November 14th, before the draft, and I think a lot of hopeful narratives from Jason.
So I'll say I'll mention this too, right? I'll mention this too. Is even Las Vegas odds the Heat aren't even in the top six. Not Eastern
Wow.
Conference Finals. I'm just saying top six of overall NBA odds. So
NBA like championship
yeah,
odds.
championship odds. So
Uh huh.
not a lot of people are looking that optimistic about the Heat, at least for this season.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying the Eastern Conference is very open right now,
Yeah.
right?
For sure. For
Yeah, and
sure.
that's where my optimism comes in. It's not the fact that I'm thinking, oh, Doc Rivers was what we needed, and the Sixers are going to win 55 out of the 72 games. It's more or less that the division is so open, like the NFC East for football is. It's so open that it's there for the taking.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I can see
yeah,
that.
so it's from that perspective. I'm thinking it's more open because we finally have a new head coach. When Tobias was with the Clippers with Doc Rivers, he had career numbers there. So hopefully
That's
Tobias
true.
can be more efficient,
Oh
right?
wow. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, and I think Ben Simmons, he can only get better, right? I'm not expecting him to take threes, but like defensively, he was an All NBA first team defender. I think
He's
Embiid had
so
a
good
pretty bad year
defensively.
last year for his standards,
Even still, he was good.
and that's the thing, right? So I think Embiid's going to bounce back. I think that was a
Mm-hmm.
really bad year for him. And
Mm-hmm.
then Matisse Thybulle, if we keep him, right, assuming we don't trade him away for with Al Horford to couple and get another player. So I think the Sixers' future looks better than it was last season. I'll just put it that way. Yeah, especially with the new head coach. Yeah.
I have a trade idea for you guys. How about you guys package Al Horford and Josh Richardson for who's that shooting guard on the Kings? Buddy
Oh, Buddy
Hield.
Hield.
I feel
Yes,
like that trade would really work out well
for
for
both.
you guys. And somehow getting JJ back on this roster.
He signed a
Because
2 year deal though.
yeah, I mean,
So
so make a trade. Don't give up Matisse. I think, but everyone else should be up for grabs besides Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. So I did want to ask you before we conclude. I guess just this decade long discussion. So clearly, Embiid and Ben Simmons, they spur each other on to be better players or whatnot, and um, obviously Joel Embiid has been pretty vocal about Ben Simmons' lack of ability to shoot. Um, if you had to trade one of these two, who would you trade?
Embiid, 100% Embiid. Yeah,
Huh. Okay.
and
I would too. I
yeah,
would too.
okay, I
Yeah.
see. So we're on the same page for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the only reason why I say that is because I mean they're both obviously young. I think in terms of longevity, usually centers don't have as long of a career as guards, wing players do, from an eagle eye perspective. And then now if you account Embiid's injury history, then it's even shorter, I think, right? And I think even from a potential standpoint, I think Ben Simmons' potential is higher. He's only 23.
Oh
People
wow, really?
people think MB or Ben Simmons is like 27, and if he doesn't learn how to shoot in the next year, his career is done.
No, he's 23,
And
and
that's the thing, right?
Embiid's younger than Josh Richardson.
But his body's like 30 already, Like,
Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, let's say Ben Simmons, let's say he takes a bit more 18-footer jump shots this season, and then maybe by 2 years from now, he actually can hit 40% of outside shots from the paint, which is enough for him. He'll
Mm-hmm.
only be 25 by then. And if he somehow incorporates a 30% three-point shot in that game,
Mm-hmm.
he could drop 25 easy then, if he wants to.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like definitely being on the same team as these offensive players limits his opportunities. But he still gets his buckets. Like 16.7 points per game is not small.
it's not. And his
Yeah.
field goal percentage is through the roof too. It's just that
Oh
he doesn't
yeah.
shoot the ball. So I know I get a lot of heat for this, right? But I ask people all the time, honestly, or Ben Simmons and Giannis, to me, there isn't much difference between the two.
Okay.
See? That I know.
Oh my gosh.
Let me ask you this, right? No, seriously, let me ask you this.
Oh my
If
gosh.
if the Sixers built the team around Ben Simmons like the Bucks did with Giannis, why wouldn't Ben Simmons be able to put those types of numbers up? Think about it.
He I think just his core values as a player and just identity as a passer does not allow him to score as much as Embiid. Ben Simmons definitely can get to the basket, but he can't. He doesn't have any inside presence, like
Oh,
to the point of to the point of
Giannis.
yeah, Giannis, right? And Giannis definitely shoots more threes than Ben Simmons. That's not, that's
No, no,
not
no, which is that's fair. He's willing to take the shot. I'll give you that, right? But the thing is that Ben Simmons always has a log jam in the paint, and he still averages 16 points, even though the offense is focused on Embiid getting the ball.
well. I mean, that logjam is cleared when Embiid has to go out to the 3-point line just so Ben Simmons can have some lanes to drive into. But either way, that's solely due to Ben Simmons' lack of ability to shoot,
Right.
isn't
No.
it?
So, but what I'm saying is Giannis always has the lane open for him, whereas Ben Simmons, let's say half the game, it's not there.
Right. He needs to get people involved.
Well, no, but I'm just saying from the paint perspective. If you look at the paint, Giannis, when he brings the ball up, that paint is cleared out, right? And it's all
True.
usually one
Brooke Lopez
is out. Yeah.
yeah.
Whereas Ben Simmons, when he goes, it's four people there, and that's a fault to him as well too. I'm not deferring that, but I'm saying
Right.
that at least 50% of the time, that paint is clogged because it's either Embiid down there or Horford down there now. Or actually, then I'll say 80%, right?
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, definitely. I mean,
Right?
Horford sometimes is at the corner threes, but
Yeah, but I'll say 80% of the time while Ben Simmons is on the court, the paint is clogged, and he's
yeah,
still
yeah,
averaging 16 points a game with that, right? I'm not saying
yeah,
he's going to be dropping like 30 like Giannis is, but I don't see
right.
why he can't be averaging 25, 12, and 8. He could easily do that.
12 rebounds?
Yeah.
Ah, rebounds?
He averages 8 right now. And that's with
Yeah, I mean,
Horford
yeah,
and Embiid.
definitely, I can see him averaging 10 or maybe 11. 12?
Okay,
That's a
so then,
lot.
all right, then let's say 25, 10, and 8. That's not much of a big difference.
25, 10, and I can even see him averaging over 10.
So you're saying triple double then? 25
Yeah,
triple
triple
double?
double. I can see him averaging a triple double.
Yeah.
I honestly down the line, just as a basketball fan, I want to see a team um built around Ben Simmons
Agreed.
because definitely that's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, if Ben Simmons can meet someone like D'Antoni, wow, that would be a fun team to watch. Just people running up and down, a lot of shooters. He needs a lot, and Ben Simmons, like at the end of the day, needs a lot of shooters. I feel like if there were better shooters on this team, he would average at least 9 to 9.5 assists. Like there's so many
I think he averaged 10
assists.
easy right now because he's
Yeah,
averaging 8 with very mediocre shooters. He,
exactly. And
yeah,
and a lot of these players end up isoing with his passes anyways. So and I think that kind of speaks to just Brett Brown's offense and the fluidity of just how things are run organically through just team cohesion, which clearly is not there at this
yeah,
point. So I feel like going into the next season, it's got to get better, like you said, right? It can't be as bad as this
yeah.
season. Hopefully, I feel like you guys definitely need to make some trades to be um, a championship contender because this team isn't going to do it.
So I could see this team, then this is assuming a lot out of Doc Rivers, of him being a good head coach. I don't think he's a great head coach. I think he's a good head coach.
Yeah, I don't see the
Yeah,
hype.
I don't think he's great, but he's better than Brett Brown is. So I'm just glad with that.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm better than Brett Brown.
Yeah, you could be. Yeah.
I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
Don't at me though.
But at the same time, too, let's say Doc Rivers has a great year of head coaching, then I don't see why this team can't come out of the East with this composition right now. Because remember, Doc Rivers coached Al Horford too when he was on the Celtics way back when, right before he got traded to the Clippers. So I feel as though the fits aren't great, but I think that this team severely underperformed for the amount of talent still, even with Al Horford being 34 now. Because this team still on paper still does have just a lot of wow power to you. Just looking
Yeah,
at it, right? Yeah.
not so much the bench, but starting five. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
And
these
playoffs
are
is
yeah.
only a 7-man rotation anyways. realistically, right? It's your five and then two rotational players, and that's what you're mainly playing with. Unless
Yeah,
you're Budenhauser and you're an idiot and you try to cycle in 10 players, which is why he loses
but
in the playoffs. But
at the end of the day, if the Sixers don't address their weaknesses, obviously, which is shooting,
mhm,
it's not going to get them far. There's like something I read on Reddit. I don't know if I'm like saying this correctly, but they're saying the regular season you play to your strengths,
mhm,
and playoffs, that's when your weaknesses determine if you can advance or not. So
agreed. Yeah.
I'm kind of butchering that, but that's so true. Um, say Milwaukee Sixers, there are inherent weaknesses with the lack of shooting, and obviously that led to them not performing in the playoffs for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Sixers, they had some of it, and because of an unlucky bounce, they were not in the finals.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of
I mean, that's
I mean
basketball, right? Or all
that's
sports.
hilarious to me as as a Knicks fan and a Sixers hater, but but it's definitely Sixers. Like it's funny when they do poorly, but at the same time, they've been like kind of like a social experiment that the
Yeah.
NBA has been like nurturing the past decade, and like everyone's always interested. Joel Embiid is
Mhm.
a character, Ben Simmons too, kind
Yeah.
of,
Everyone's
and
waiting for him to become LeBron James 2.0. Everyone always does
exactly.
that.
So
Yeah.
the attention is there, the talent is there, and I think it's up to you guys to kind of put it together.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take of just where they have been the past decade.
And I think this draft, right? Obviously, top five picks aren't overly that strong, but this draft is just littered with shooters. So that's why I feel as though the Sixers are only gonna get better because there's just so many 3-and-D guards slash wings available, and we have a first round pick that got deferred to us from OKC because of the fact
Oh,
that they
okay.
made the playoffs. So we do have a first round pick this year.
Okay. What
Yeah,
what what do you know which pick?
21st overall, and there's still a
Okay, it's
lot
not
of.
bad.
It's not bad. Yeah,
I,
and
I feel like there's a lot of quality players in this draft.
there
No,
are.
no.
It's not top heavy. It's actually very bottom heavy this year.
Yeah, and that's good for me.
Why?
Knicks
The
have a
Knicks have
lot
a
of
lot of picks
picks.
this year.
Yeah, I feel like because we obviously missed out on the first 5 picks. I think we're like eighth.
Mm,
Um, but I feel like if there was a draft to fall
yeah,
back on, it would have been this
this
one.
draft. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, either way, just to I guess kind of conclude the decade, sorry, the decade of uh, Sixers basketball. It's been a very up and down journey for I feel like the whole NBA and just basketball fans in total. So I think the last thing I want to ask you is 331 wins out of 795 played games, lost 464 of them. So you're standing at around 42% win percentage.
mhm.
If you can give a grade from 1 through 10 on the past decade for the 76ers, then, um, and I guess just your explanation, and then I guess we'll kind of close this.
Yeah. I think I'll give two grades actually. One is where they stand now, right? The results that have been produced thus far, right, from this past decade.
No, no, no. You gotta give a single grade for this decade.
No, so that's your first question though, right? Is from this decade on the results, it's this. That's what you told me
Uh
the win
huh.
percentage record, right?
Uh huh.
I would say I'll give them. So they had four second round playoff appearances, a couple of first rounders. I'm not going to really talk about. One close potential championship run for a 10-year span. I'll give that. I'll give that a C minus for 10 years.
C minus.
Yeah.
So out of 10, what would it be?
Oh, sorry. Out of 10, right?
Yeah.
I mean, then I'll say it would be a 4 out
Seven.
of 10.
Huh?
I'll say a 4 out of 10. Five being average for a decade's worth.
Oh, 4 out of 10. Wow.
Yeah, based on
Wow. I
results.
thought you'd be more generous to your
Oh no,
team.
no. I'm very
Four out of
objective.
10.
Yeah, 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Because like 5 out of 10 just being an average NBA franchise, but I'm thinking how many NBA franchises in the past 10 years can say that they actually had potential championship aspirations, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Sixers could say that 2 out of the 10 seasons that they were really contending for the championship, in which one season they came extremely close, even though it was a second round elimination. But then majority of the teams can't say that either,
That's
realistically,
true.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the perspective I took of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I feel like just overall there might be some like recency bias
oh
for
no.
I guess younger fans
Yeah.
who did not go through the process with what Philly has now what they're infamous for.
Yeah.
But
I
it,
and I think that's
yeah.
my second part is what you're talking about with the recency bias and what's to come. Obviously we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. But I think if I were to give them a grade right now of their potential to win the championship in the next 3 to 4 years, because that's still their window, right? Let's
Uh-huh.
say. And I think that's kind of cutting it short too, because Embiid's only 25, Simmons is only 23, assuming we don't trade either of them. I'll give them, and with Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey, that's huge. Daryl Morey is our GM now.
That's
That's
true. That's
huge.
that's a huge plus.
Yeah. I'll give them an 8 out of 10. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
To
I
win the
actually really have
championship.
high hopes for the next 3 or 4 years. Really excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see why you say that. For me, I would give them 6 out of 10 for
Oh,
the
for
decade.
future?
No, for the decade.
Oh, for the decade? Okay.
Just simply because it's been pretty entertaining to
Oh, from an entertainment. Oh,
to to watch this team implode over and over again,
yeah.
only for them to implode once again in the playoffs. And um, so it's become such a storied like um, decade for them just
Yeah.
because of all the characters, all the players, and all the injuries that went into this. So, but I feel like the end result wasn't exactly what you guys expected. But at the same time, Sam Hinkie, I think, did his job.
Yeah,
He
he
did
did.
the best he could, and I feel like this is what he was envisioning to
Mhm.
give them the best opportunity as possible. So many mispicks and so many like I said, dynasty opportunities that
Yeah.
were missed. But that's just the NBA. You can never have same thing with the Boston Celtics. No, not everyone can be Golden State, where everyone turn out to be legit, just superstars, and have like one of the best coaches just
Golden.
drop to you.
We could have a whole bit on Golden State and their rise. That's a very unique situation of what happened with them pre
It
KD.
was,
We're not gonna talk
yeah.
about KD, but that it's
I
really
can even talk to you about KD because I I was not one of those people that like cursed out KD so much when he joined the Golden State Warriors. But I guess we'll save that for another day.
yeah.
But for me, 6 out of 10 for the decade, and for the upcoming
Mhm.
championship odds, I would say I'm gonna go a little lower and say 6 out of 10. I feel like they'll find a way to screw this up, like they always do.
Even with
And
the new GM and new head coach, that's like a whole
yeah,
new regime now
I
with
mean, but
experience.
at the same time, you brought on losers too.
Like who?
Daryl Morey. Okay, he's been to conference
Oh,
finals so many times.
which is
Good,
fair, right? But then,
and you know what?
sorry, go on.
And they contended with the Golden State Warriors, which was very commendable because clearly they were not going to beat them. But they took them to 7 games. They had James Harden, who's such a great player. They took advantage of that. Um, Same with Doc Rivers. He coached a championship level Clippers team multiple seasons, and I feel like they should have won a couple championships. They didn't.
Well,
Um,
I wouldn't say a couple, but okay.
yeah, but maybe like one or two.
I definitely think he should have won one,
Yeah,
but it's
because
hard. I mean,
at a certain there were definitely points where the Clippers were more talented than the Golden State Warriors and
well,
Houston.
but before Golden State, that's when the Spurs that was their dynasty. The
Right,
West,
but then they at the tail end of the Spurs, Clippers were too athletic for the Spurs.
and that's where Popovich's greatness came in, right? That's
Right.
coaching right there. Yeah,
But at the end of the day, both of them zero championship. I guess one championship on the Boston Celtics, and that's a whole nother conversation. Because I don't know why we like praise Doc Rivers so much for those championships,
I
but
agree. I agree.
um, that's just my take. But
Yeah.
you guys brought on almost winners,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Wait, what?
you guys have been almost winners
Yeah.
starting 20 years back, you know, with AI. So, and I feel like that has to continue until maybe you guys get one lucky championship, just
Oh, here
like
we
the
go with the lucky
Philadelphia Eagles.
championship again. Oh my god.
Yeah, where Brady probably had the flu or the early string of coronavirus. I don't know.
Well, I guess the early strain of coronavirus made him superhuman because his numbers were insane. He
What?
threw for 505 yards.
Either way, either
Oh,
way,
here we go.
just I'm just saying one lucky championship doesn't
Here we
make
go, lucky
it
again.
a dynasty. But that's where I stand with Sixers and Philly sports in general.
Yeah, yeah, so just a disclaimer to everyone out there. Yachan, remember, he's a Knicks fan. He's a Giants
Yes.
fan, so there's a lot of bitterness still there. So that's why he is.
No,
the lead.
none, no bitterness.
And that's
to me.
why even look at his virtual background. It makes complete sense now.
No, nothing makes sense.
But, yeah, I mean, I guess to wrap up too, there's I'm sure you've heard the rumors about Westbrook wanting to get out of Houston now. He doesn't want to play with James Harden, and apparently James Harden wants to leave too, because now he knows there's no championship level. They're not a championship level contending team anymore. And there's obviously Daryl Morey, Doc Rivers, James Harden. There's a lot of relationship there, so there's a lot of rumors flying around right now with James Harden to Philly, and there's a lot of scenarios where Ben Simmons and Embiid are not involved in the trade too. So this is very far. It's very far reaching, but if somehow the Sixers do land James Harden without giving up those two, then there's a lot of scenarios out there actually with 3-team trades and so forth. But
nope.
But if that does happen, then the Sixers should become automatic favorites to win the finals. But that's just faithful thinking, obviously. Who would contend them?
Oh my gosh.
Harden, Embiid, and Simmons?
No, I don't. Golden State Warriors, but either way,
no. Not with those.
Either way, they're not getting Harden, no matter what you say, without giving
the chances
up.
Are not. Yeah, that's like a 5% chance, if at all. Yeah,
I would give up one of them for James Harden.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd rather give up Embiid than Simmons, but then I'd be okay with giving up one of the two for Harden.
I would give up Ben Simmons.
Yeah, like that would make the Sixers championship contenders right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, wow, we've been doing this for a while, but
yeah, good talks, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jason, for our first installment of the decade long special that we are curating. As, this is really professional and well researched. Not really, but if you made it this far into the podcast, we commend you. Because some of these Sixers years, it's just such a bore to bear through. But thank you for listening.
It's all good. It's because I have hope, man.
Yeah, definitely. Jason will be back. I don't know where you would subscribe, or I don't know, but figure that out on your own. But thank you for listening, and Jason, any last words?
Yeah. When are you gonna send my gift card, dude?
Huh?
When are you gonna send my gift card for doing this?
Yeah. Look for it. It'll be mailed out in the next decade or two.
Okay.
So
all right. I'll
be on the
address,
lookout. Yeah.
All right. Cool, man.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah, we'll see you soon.
All right.
On to the next team.
All right.
Thank you.
Deuces.